Hi everybody. I'm a couple minutes. I ain't even gonna say a couple minutes. I'm late. But we here. I hope all is well. And I hope you have all had a great start to your Monday. I'm just getting the rest of my stuff pulled up here. I'm excited about our topic tonight that we voted on YouTube. Hello, welcome in. On radical self-care. And as I get things pulled up, we have a lot to talk about. We are live on both YouTube and Instagram right now. And it looks like everything on my devices is working properly, so we shouldn't have no issues this week. Hopefully. And also, I didn't realize that my iPad works as a second screen to my laptop. I'm just realizing that. So now I got something else to play with when it comes to technology. Okay? Almost there. Let me get everything else up. But definitely let me know in the comments how you're feeling, where you're watching from, if this is your first time. I definitely want to know. If you haven't liked the live, make sure to like the live. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I am a certified mindfulness coach. We talk about all things self-care, mental health on this channel. And we vote weekly on, hi Hiru, welcome in, welcome in. We talk weekly about different topics that's voted on by subscribers, and this week was highly requested based on the poll on radical self-care. So I'm going to explain that in a minute. We'll talk through all of the details, and we will get this going as soon as I figure out my life. Okay, so radical self-care. Well, let me explain where this came from, because the term I feel like I've heard before, but for some reason in this particular instance, it stuck out to me. I was watching a interview done by Wendell Pierce. I think it was with the Breakfast Club. And he was talking about the importance of radical self-care, which then prompted me to like really think about, hi M&J, running Crane, I think that is. I can't see. I don't even have my glasses on. But yes, hey, welcome in, welcome in. But yeah, so he was talking about radical self-care and what it meant to him like in his life. And it just prompted me to really think about what radical self-care would look like for me. And then which further prompted me to think about this for a topic for us to talk about on one of our weekly lives. So this is where the idea came from. And why I put it on there. So I'm glad that you guys voted on it, because it gives me a sense of me even thinking about it for myself as far as like what is radical self-care, what it means, and what does it look like for me, because self-care looks so different for everyone. And I think that we often minimize it to it just being, oh, I'm going to have a day of rest. I'm going to go to the spa. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to get my eyebrows done, whatever, whatever we may picture or depict it as. And self-care is just so much more than that. So this is my way of just really making sure that we take the time to really think about this, and then also define it, define what it looks like and how it shows up in our lives. So I want to say about 5 ways that we can practice radical self-care, and then 5 affirmations that you can take away from this. So we're going to go through this in a bit. Just a second here as I am finishing posts. Sorry, y'all, it's been a crazy day. Okay. All right. So, when thinking about radical self-care, I was really trying to define it, right? Like, because again, like I said, it looks different for everybody, but I was trying to find just a general definition. Um, and what I came up with, or what I concluded on, was that radical self-care is unapologetically reclaiming your right to rest, heal, and prioritize your well being. It's a way of being proactive in self care versus being reactive. Because a lot of times when we practice self care, it's in a matter of reacting to what has already happened. Whereas radical self care is a way to be proactive, to think ahead, and to encompass daily self care and keeping that in the forward front of our minds. Because a lot of times we'll get so stressed and then we want to activate self care. Now we want to go to the spa. Now we want to now we want to do all of these things, right, that we consider to be self care, versus really thinking about and understanding how we can implement self-care mindfully, I can't talk today, mindfully every single day. Okay. So that was my definition. Feel free to share in the comments if you have any others, ones that you can think of, that comes to mind when it comes to self-care, and how you would define it for yourself. Because I feel like it again looks so different for so many different people, and maybe my definition isn't necessarily what it would mean to you. So if you think differently or want to add anything, definitely drop in the comments, let me know. I would love to see those things. Okay. um, so when we're thinking about 5 ways that we can practice radical self-care, and I really put some in-depth thought into this. I didn't want it to be the common things that we talk about all the time. If you're looking for me to tell you to, get your nails done and go to the spa, that this ain't gonna be that type of life, okay? Um, and so I really wanted to think logically about how we could actually implement these things on a day-to-day basis. So it's going to be outside of the norm of what you may hear of self-care. But let's dive in. Let's talk about number one. Here we go. Oh, bear with me, y'all. Okay, so let's talk about number one. Number one was practicing, or what's the best way to say it? Embracing true authenticity and transparency. Embracing true authenticity and transparency. Um, this is critical, y'all, because in order for us to really be very proactive in self care, we have to be honest with ourselves. Um, and sometimes it's difficult for us to practice what we would call radical self care because we operate in avoidance or denial, or just dishonesty within ourselves. We have this internal conflict of what is needed and what is wanted and what is desired and what our passions are. And when we have things on the outside that conflict or are different from what we feel internally, it can create a space of avoidance and as a way to protect ourselves. And we think that it's helping, and it may even feel like it's helping in the moment, but it's keeping us from being radical in our well-being. It's keeping us from being honest to our true selves and how we interact and connect with others. So the first thing is that you want to embrace true authenticity, embrace transparency, embrace honesty. Um, Many times we're struggling not just with self-care but with life in general. We're struggling in those spaces because we are having difficulty establishing identity. we're having difficulty establishing and developing and understanding our values and what our true values are. And because of that, we're unable to operate and within ourselves authentically. It's hard to be authentic when you're not sure of who you are. Like if someone was to ask you who you are right now, like, hey, who is such and such, and put your name there, what would your response be? And many times that question is hard to answer. And if you find yourself making it difficult to answer, and I want you to think outside of your roles, right? Because the first thing we'll say is, oh, I'm a mom, or oh, I'm a dad, or I work in this profession, or I do this, or I do that. At the end of the day, all of those roles are for other people. When we're thinking about identity, we want to think about what we embody within ourselves, what we love about ourselves, the things that we see about ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our limitations, our boundaries, and really taking the time to establish what that is. And it may feel weird, right? Like, okay, well, who am I? I've been me all my life. Why am I just asking this question at whatever age we're at, right? But it's important. It's an important step to do, because once you're able to really establish who you are as a person, then you'll be able to do the rest of what I'm about to talk about, right? Because if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what your values are, if you don't have an understanding of that, of your wants, needs, desires, or passions, if you don't have a concrete understanding of what that looks like, then it will be very difficult to continue with radical self care, right? Again, we know what self care is. We talk about that all the time. But radical self care is taking it a step further in proactiveness. So yeah, that's number one. True authenticity and transparency, establishing identity, developing and understanding your values, being real about your wants, needs, desires, and passions, and living life using your identity and values as a guide. Because once you have established who you are, what you value, what you want, what your needs are, what your desires are, what your passions are, then when it comes to your ability to navigate life, those are your guide. That is your blueprint. That is what you use to move and navigate life more freely. Okay, so that was number one. True authentic. I cannot talk today, y'all. True authenticity and transparency. That was number one. Number two, setting boundaries and self advocacy. Setting boundaries and self advocacy. So, the second point when it comes to radical self care and how we can practice radical self care is being able to set boundaries within ourselves and with others, and then also advocate for ourselves in the moments that we need to advocate for ourselves. So, when it comes to us already talking about establishing your identity and values, um, within setting boundaries, it makes that easier to advocate for yourself. Knowing these things makes that easier. It gives you an opportunity to stand on the principles that you have within your life, and then it gives you a guide, right? So now you have a guide on the purpose that you have. Now you have a guide on the career path that you choose. Now you have a guide on the people that you date, the friendships that you connect with, the family and the way that you interact with family, right? Now you have a concrete guide and direction on how to move forward with setting principles and your advocacy for yourself. So once you know, oh, we went through that, it's easier to make decisions, right? So now that you have your who you are, you have your values, you have your wants, your needs, your desires, it's easier for you to set boundaries and to advocate for yourself, but also to make decisions, right? If you know that your value is one thing, and that's guiding you on how to make your decisions, there may not be so many gray areas when it comes to certain things, right? Again, like your career, like the people you date, like the people you hang out with, like the people that you choose to give your time to, right? It even is a guide to the things that you watch, the things that you listen to, the way that you spend your time, right? Once you have that established, then it just trickles into everything else and helps you to stay within your values and creating those boundaries, but also advocate for yourself in spaces where those values are being challenged, right? Those values are not being followed, right? So just keeping that in mind, that once you establish that number one, everything else is going to fall into place. It's going to make it easier for you to create a vision for yourself. It's going to make it easier for you to create direction for your life when you know who you are and when you know what your values are. Okay. So that was number two, setting boundaries and self-advocacy. Number three, um, choosing your well-being, right? Choosing your well-being first. So there's many ways that you can choose your well-being, but I have just a few points. I want to say like 4 points here. How do you choose your well-being? By unlearning conditioned behavior that you know is harmful, right? Like grind culture, hustle culture is something that's just ingrained in us, right? So unlearning conditioned behavior, protecting your energy and guarding your heart, right? Being sure to, now that you have your values and your identity and the things that you have established early on, it makes it easier for you to protect your boundaries, because now you know what your needs are, now you know what your wants are, now you know what your limitations are. So now you're able to protect your energy and guard your heart from things that go against your values or your identity, right? Um, Choosing where you direct your focus, eliminating distractions and offenses, right? So we get to choose where we focus. We get to choose where we put all of our energy and things into. Radical self-care is being very cognizant of that and being unapologetic about that, right? So if where I choose to spend my time, where I choose to put my energy, is what's going to determine my well-being. And once we really understand that and grasp that, and do our best. Now, again, this isn't going to be the easiest of things, but do our best to eliminate distractions and offenses, so that way you're able to focus your energy in the spaces that you would like to focus them on, right? And then lastly, rejecting self-oppression, right? Sometimes we do have environments that we may be in that are oppressive, right? That we feel like we're not able to be our true selves. But we can always eliminate what we do internally, right? If we already have these environments that we're in that are difficult environments to be in and day out, why continue to keep that also going internally? Okay. So finding ways to reject the self-oppression, which would be the ways that we talk to ourselves, or our negative self-talk. Hello, welcome in. Our negative self-talk, the way that we take care of ourselves, because a lot of times we neglect ourselves for the sake of whatever, whether it be the sake of other people, the sake of our jobs, the sake of career, the sake of our children. We do that self rejection or that self oppression in order to accommodate the things that are happening externally. So just ensuring that we reject that self oppression and find ways to build up our positive our positivity, and the way that we see ourselves, our self-worth and value. And the way that you start is, again, back to number one, is establishing our identity and establishing our values. If you haven't already, make sure to like the live, share the live, subscribe. If you haven't already, this is All Things Self-Care, Mental Health. My name is Debbie. Welcome in, welcome in. So that was number three, choosing your well-being. Number four, which I feel is the most radical, right? Because this isn't something that we talk about often, but finding ways of healing generationally, right? So considering your bloodline, I'm sorry if it gets loud, y'all, it's thunderstorms outside. considering your bloodline, either those who came before you or after you, and notice and break the cycles and habits and conditioning that are harmful. Like I mentioned earlier, we talked about unlearning conditioned behavior, the things that we were raised to do that we know for a fact are harmful to us as adults, right? And it could have been something that was conditioned and taught to us, or just something that we have started to do just as a matter of survival, right? So may have lived a life or lived a tough childhood, and because of that, you have conditioned yourself to be a certain way in order to survive in that environment. But now you're no longer in that environment, but a lot of times we're still operating in that way to ensure that we keep our survival, right? So healing generationally is also including those conditioned habits that we created based off of our environment as children, right? So notice and break the cycles, habits, and conditioning that are harmful. For example, it could be, anxiety, people pleasing, financial hardship, addictions, thinking about all of those cycles that may pop up in your life that you see in your bloodline, and choosing to be the bloodline breaker of that. Because a lot of times if you have, children, and then they have children, and then they have children, if we don't stop it right now, then it continues in the bloodline, right? So keep that in mind. But healing generationally is so freeing because of the fact that when it comes to that being a part of radical self-care, you're not just breaking it for you, you're breaking it for your family, you're breaking it for your bloodline, you're becoming now the example or the person that initiates that healing within your bloodline. That's radical, right? Because we can think about ourselves, right? We can think about how we heal ourselves and how we can do better. But if we heal our family, we're able to do just a little bit of healing within our siblings or within our parents or within our children. How much more care do we provide to ourselves in that, right? So healing generationally is just as important as healing personally, because again, you're passing that to the people that are around you that you love. But if they're healed, then it's easier for you to heal, and it's a beautiful cycle versus it being a generational curse, right? So that was number 4, healing generationally. And then lastly, choosing joy and rest, right? Choosing joy and rest. Joy and rest, and even love, is a choice. I know we talked about this before, and I don't want to be redundant, but I also want to put a pin in that we have the right and the ability to choose, right? We have the choice to choose joy. We have the choice to choose rest. Joy as a choice is a strategy. It's not just a feeling or emotion, right? So joy is a strategy. It's a strategy for proactiveness, for resistance, and connection, right? The more that you choose to have joy in moments of difficulty, it, of course, has a whole lot more to do with there's a whole lot more to do with that when it comes to choosing joy, but just having that as a thought and thinking of it as a strategy versus it being a feeling can be all the difference as far as shift in mindset and actions. Joy is a strategy for proactiveness, right? If you choose joy initially, especially when going into situations, that's a way for you to be proactive. I'm going into this situation and I'm going into it with a positive attitude. I'm going into it with this type of mindset, because a lot of times when we anticipate conflict, we're going to find it, right? So if we anticipate joy within ourselves, regardless of what's happening, regardless of what is in the environment or what you think, right, is going to happen, the better you would be as far as like practicing or keeping yourself in a form of self-care. Just the thought, and I think I might have said this before, this might have been last week, that our brain responds to what we repeat, not necessarily what it knows, right? So it's, even if you know that things will be okay, if you keep repeating negativity, then your brain is going to respond to that versus what it actually knows within itself. So if you are intentional about your thought process and mindset of joy, and you repeat that in your brain, then your brain is going to react to the joy versus it reacting to the negativity that you may have used to replay in your mind. So, thinking about what you repeat in your brain and understanding that joy is a strategy to combat that. It's a strategy of proactiveness, it's a strategy of resistance, which is the resistance of negativity, and it's a strategy of connection. It's how we're able to connect with others, right? It's how we're able to love others, it's how we're able to care for others, it's how we're able to give to others. And you must understand too, is that radical self-care isn't always about self. Sometimes connection and the love and the experiences and the relationships that we have with other people, we're meant to connect. We are created to connect, right? So if you live a life of no connection with anyone, we may experience mental health issues like depression, like anxiety, because of the fact that we don't have connection. So connection with others in itself is a part of radical self-care. Okay, I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments. So that was what was that? Choosing joy and rest. So in addition to that, rest is also a strategy, right? It's a strategy for healing, for clarity, and restoration, right? It's going to be very difficult for us to heal because our bodies heal while we're sleeping, right? Wow, that was loud. I hope that wasn't too loud, y'all. All of the thunder and lightning is crazy outside. Okay, so rest is a strategy for healing. So this is how our bodies physically heal. It's a strategy for clarity. So once you have rested your body, whether that be physically going to sleep or just taking the time to rest the body, gives you the ability to actually bring clarity to your thoughts, to your mindset, to your spirit, man, like all of that. Okay. And then it's a strategy for restoration. Once you have depleted yourself, right? Once things are depleted completely, in your body, when it comes to self-care, we wait until depletion happens, right? We wait until everything is just all over the place, and instead of us consistently having moments of restoration to ensure that we're able to continue and move through life mindfully, we just allow things to just kind of fall apart, y'all. So restoration, or rest and strategy, is a strategy. Rest is a strategy for restoration. I can't talk today, y'all. So yeah, so keep that in mind when thinking about choosing joy and rest. And then next, I have two more points here before we go to affirmations when choosing joy and rest. The next part is spiritual refining. The oh, it's you? Okay, listen, it's definitely a thing. Don't deplete yourself. Don't deplete yourself. Yeah, so when it comes to the next point, when it comes to choosing joy and rest, and I can't sugarcoat this, we need God, y'all. Spiritual refining, like refining us spiritually. We are made up of our spirit, our soul, and our physical body, and we have to tap into all areas. Okay, our the spiritual part of us is how we connect. It's how we connect to others. It's how we connect to God. It's how we connect in general as people and having a human connection and experience. Our soul is our mind, will, and our emotions, our intelligence. It's how we think. It's how we rationalize. It's our logical thought process. And then our body is just what stores both our spirit and our soul. So all three have to be at a certain level of restoration, and we need joy and rest for that. Okay, so spiritual refining in that process, and when we're thinking about radical self-care, is so important. Having the way, if you are someone that prays, prayer. If you're someone that meditates, then meditation. But finding a way to connect spiritually is it actually has a physical response in the body. It has a physical response in our nervous system. I think it was a study, and I have to pull this study because I really want to actually know and memorize the statistics of this. But it talks about how they did a study of people of prayer and what that actually does. And it wasn't even about a specific religion. It was just the act of prayer, right? And how that affects the body and how it affects the brain. And there were so many benefits that it listed. I want to pull that. There was so many benefits that it listed for the brain and for the nervous system, and that the more that people participated in that type of connection, the better their nervous systems were able to have a form of resilience. Right now, me personally, I am a Christian, so I do believe in God and Jesus Christ, and I do pray, on a consistent basis. But spiritual refining is one of the things that will be something you can do consistently that is going to be proactive, right? It's something that as the more consistent you come to it and the more consistent that you're open to it, the more that you're be able to have this proactive thought process and mindset of radical self-care, okay? And again, like I said, self-care, radical self-care doesn't just include you. It also includes connection, and it also includes those pieces outside of you. Again, we're created to create, right? We're created to create, and a lot of that has to do with connection with other people. So if you are just one of those who self-isolate, me, I'm one of those. If you're one of those who self-isolates, and we think that it may be better, it's maybe better in the moment, and sometimes being to yourself is a good thing because you need that restoration, right? Sometimes doing that radically can make things worse. So connection is key. And then lastly, before we go to affirmations, listening to your body. What did I have here? Oh, so listening to your body. So your body should be a thermometer rather than just temperature, right? Sometimes we look at our bodies as, I'm up here, I'm down here, and we see it as just like my temperature is up here, I'm at 95 degrees, and then I done dropped to 60, then I done went back up here and gone up and down, right? I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm frustrated, I'm happy again, and then we just kind of see it as a temperature, right? But we want to really look at it as more so of a thermometer. Our body's reaction should be an indicator of what's needed, not just a manifestation of what's wrong, okay? So allowing and listening to our bodies to not just say something's wrong, but to say something's needed. What is needed, and I need to give myself what is needed, right? So let me make sure I'm not missing anything. And that's really just what I had said just recently, but don't let the temperature to just go up and down, but clock the temperature and do something about it. Okay. So that's the 5 ways to practice radical self-care. Just a quick overview of number 1 was true authenticity and transparency. Number 2 was setting boundaries and self-advocacy. Number 3, welcome in. Number 3 was choosing your well-being. Number 4, healing generationally. Number 5, choosing joy and rest. Okay. So affirmations. Feel free to use these affirmations as much as you wish to. Again, I'll pause here. Again, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. Our channel on YouTube, which we're also live on, and then we're also on Instagram. Our channel is all things self-care. I post weekly meditations and different topics, but then on every Monday, we do a new live on a new topic that's voted on our YouTube channel. So again, thanks to everyone that actually votes every week. I truly appreciate you. But these lives are broken down by us just talking about the topic and then diving into affirmations. So we talk through the topic. You can always watch the playback on the YouTube channel after it's finished. But I'm going to dive into affirmations. I have 5. Yes. I have 5 affirmations that I'm going to share that you can take away with you from our talk today. It is also very interactive, so feel free to talk back to me, ask any questions if you need anything. But feel free to use these affirmations however you wish to. Okay, so if you want to write them down, if you want to type them in the chat, if you want to put them on post-it notes, you can always take them, write them down, and record yourself saying them later, so that way you can listen back. However you want to use your affirmations, please do. If you want to refine or change the language so that way it makes more sense for you, please do that as well. This is just a framework, nothing's concrete. Okay? Cool. Mouthful, but we're going to jump in these affirmations. Okay, cool. Number 1. I am refining my presence, my focus, and compassion, choosing what truly serves me. I am refining my presence, my focus, and compassion, choosing what truly serves me. I'll say that one last time. I am refining my presence, my focus, and compassion, choosing what truly serves me. Okay? So when it comes to radical self-care, it's about refining. It's not about me judging myself. It's not about me putting a whole bunch of extra pressure and craziness on me. It's not about me doing what I see as far as self-care, because I know we all see the posts and the vlogs of self-care and what it's supposed to look like. It looks like what you need. Okay, that's what radical self-care looks like. It looks like what you need, and it's going to look different from person to person. So radical self-care, or initiating radical self-care, is about refining what's there. It's about being the best version of you, what that looks like, and how you can get there. Okay, so I am refining my presence, my focus, and compassion, choosing what truly serves me. That's affirmation number 1. Affirmation number 2, I release the inner critic that speaks with the voice of oppression and judgment. I release the inner critic that speaks with the voice of oppression and judgment. Again, I release the inner critic that speaks with the voice of oppression and judgment. Sometimes we struggle in life in general because we allow our inner critic to have the loudest voice. Okay? The fact of the matter is that you have the ability to release that, to change that, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's just a matter of a mindset shift that can happen over time. It may be something that you do on your own. It may be something that you need assistance with when it comes to having a counselor or a therapist. It may be something that you would need assistance with, of course, like I said, if you pray, if you talk to God, if you're a spiritual connector, that all of that is what would be needed to help you release that, because that inner critic is a beast, y'all, and it can be very damaging and even detrimental, and have severe consequences when it comes to your inner self and that inner conflicts, or those inner conflicts that you may have within yourself. So keep that in mind. Find ways to release the inner critic, but not just release it, but replace it with positivity, with joy, with rest, with love, with care, with compassion, with peace, right? And again, like I said, that's easier said than done. I can say that on a live all day, and it may sound good, right? But it's going to take work. It's going to take effort. and it doesn't necessarily feel nice all of the time. Sometimes releasing your inner critic, because it's so comfortable, it may feel like you're losing yourself, right? To a certain extent. If that's always how you have operated, and you have operated that way all of your life, and then you then go in to try to make a change or adjustment in how you speak to yourself, sometimes you may feel like, well, this doesn't feel like me, or this doesn't sound like me. That's a good thing. Okay? Because we're refining, we're changing, we're evolving, we're growing, we're healing, we're getting better. Okay? So I release the inner critic that speaks with the voice of oppression and judgment. Number 3, I am cultivating joy as a strategy to move past survival to living, being, and creating. I am cultivating joy as a strategy to move past survival to living, being, and creating. I'll say that one more time. I am cultivating joy as a strategy to move past survival to living, being, and creating. We are a lot of times, many times, living life just to survive, just to get to the end of the day, for us to go to sleep and to wake up the next morning, to survive that day, to go to bed again, and to wake up and survive the next day, the next day, right? So cultivating joy is a strategy to move past that. Cultivating joy is a strategy to be able to find yourself in a state of being, in a state of creating, in a state of living your life, a state of being present in your life, right? I've said before, we're created to create. And if we're living a life not creating anything, whatever that may be for you, because our creation or what we create looks a lot different from person to person. But if we are living a life not creating, then that's why we find ourselves in depression. That's why we find ourselves in anxiety. That's why we find ourselves in sadness and hurt and trauma and PTSD and frustration and confusion and fogginess, right? Because we're not operating in a way to where we're supposed to operate, which is to create. Okay. So that was number 3. I am cultivating joy as a strategy to move past survival to living, being, and creating. And then number 4, I've been saying this whole time, forgetting that I actually had it as an affirmation, but I am created to create and embrace the power behind my values and identity. I am created to create and embrace the power behind my values and identity. One last time, I am created to create and embrace the power behind my values and identity. There is so much power in really taking the time to establish your values and your identity. It's difficult. I said this at the top of the live. It's difficult to practice radical self-care. It's difficult to live life when you don't know who you are, you don't know what your principles are, you don't know what you value, you don't know what your needs, your limitations, and what your desires and passions are. When you don't establish that, and we're just meandering through life, it makes it hard to be the person that we were created to be, which was to create. Okay, so understand the power of establishing who you are as a person. Understand the power of establishing what your values are, what you care about, what's important to you, right? Outside of the surface stuff. Oh, my career. No, forget that. What is important to you as a person? What do you value? Do you value honesty? Do you value transparency? Do you value love? Do you value family? What is it that you value? And I think I actually have a live talking about values. I'm pretty sure I do. So feel free to look at some of the lives, because I'm pretty sure I have one on values. But really establishing what that looks like, and really establishing identity. If someone was to ask you who you are, what would your answer be? And neglect the answers of a mom, or I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm this industry, I'm this, I'm that. But moving past that, right? What is your identity? Who are you? right? Really establishing that, understanding that, memorizing that, keeping that in your brain, rotating that in your brain over and over and over again. Because guess what? Again, and I said this earlier, that makes it easier to make decisions. That makes it easier to know who you're going to connect with, who you're going to talk to, who you're going to give your focus to, what career path you should take, what your direction and purpose in life is. Right? I was going to say should be, but is, because we're all created to create for a purpose. So really establishing what those are is so super. If you don't get anything else from this live, get this. If you don't get anything else from this live, get this. Establishing and understanding what your identity and values are will make all the difference. It makes everything else fall in place. Okay? And then last affirmation. Last affirmation. My human experience is unique to my purpose. I absorb what is meant for me. Okay? Actually, I might change that slightly. Meant just for me. Sorry, I'm editing affirmations. Okay. So, my human experience is unique to my purpose. I absorb what is meant just for me. I'll say that again. My human experience is unique to my purpose. I absorb what is meant just for me. I'll say that one more time. My human experience is unique to my purpose. I absorb what is meant just for me. Okay, so just understanding that even though we all have our own human experience, and a lot of the human experiences that we have are very common, right? Some of the experiences that I have, maybe as a Black woman, another Black woman may also experience that as well. But on the other hand, our entire human experience is unique to our purpose. It's unique to why we were created. It's unique to what we were created to create, right? We're all here to create something. I truly, truly believe that. And that may just be within my own spiritual beliefs, but I believe that we're all here to create something. We're all here for a purpose. And it's up to us to absorb what is meant just for us. Right? If we are purposeful in the way that we live our lives, everything that comes our way, we can absorb, we can just take that all in, and it's going to be meant just for you. No? It's just going to be meant just for you. Okay? So understand that, yes, we all have common human experiences, but your entire experience is meant just for you. Absorb, embrace, and accept that. Okay? So that was the last one. My human experience is unique to my purpose. I absorb what is meant just for me. Y'all, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was a blessing. I hope this brings some insight. Please let me know in the comments if it has. Radical self-care. I'm so excited that I actually watched the interview. For those who didn't see at the top of the live, I talked about how the term radical self-care I got from an interview from Wendell Pierce when he was on The Breakfast Club. And he was talking about radical self-care and what that meant to him. And I was like, what radical self-care? What is that? Let me think through that and put it as one of our topics, and it was highly voted on. So I'm glad that all happened for us to have this conversation. I'll go back through the affirmations one more time just in case anyone missed them. Number 1 was, I am refining my presence, my focus, and compassion, choosing what truly serves me. Number 2, I release the inner critic that speaks with the voice of oppression and judgment. Number 3, I am cultivating joy as a strategy to move past survival to living, being, and creating. Number 4, I am created to create and embrace the power behind my values and identity. And number 5, my human experience is unique to my purpose. I absorb what is meant just for me. Okay, so this live is every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on both Instagram and YouTube. It's also live again on TikTok at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'll be heading over to TikTok in a couple of minutes. But I hope that this was helpful. Again, my name is Debbie, Certified Mindfulness Coach. I'm also a current graduate student and getting my degree in counseling. We'll be starting to sit with clients next month. So if you are in the Illinois area, I will be getting the link shortly, so that way you can schedule consultations with me if you're looking to get therapy. Know that you can do that through insurance as well as through self-pay. But yeah, I'll be having more information for you guys for how to do that on the YouTube. I'll also post it on the Instagram as well. But yeah, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow me. Make sure to go over to the YouTube and subscribe if you're on Instagram. I appreciate you all. I'm going to head over to TikTok. God bless y'all. Have a great rest of your night. Love and blessings. I'll talk to you soon.